Top of the morning to you. I'll flip the camera here in just a second, set the focus. Hey, top of the morning to you. I'm Michael. Grandkids call me Roo. Thanks for being on this April morning, April 13th. Yeah, it is a day. Thank you for all the wishes and some cards I've already received in the mail, and I'm grateful for this community. What I'm not grateful about is, if you see me looking around like this, is a yellow jacket in the studio. I think it must be a yellow jacket. If the fly's this big, he'll carry me off in a minute and may take my tea. Oh my gosh. All right. Big guy. So, hey, great to have you on the show this morning. Thanks for being a part of my morning. I love it when people jump on, and I love it that you people are connected by several things. One, you're just a human being, and I'm glad you're here. People are important, or God wouldn't have made so many of us. Art is important, and I think you flash back that all the way to creation, and you just go, wow, we live in a beautiful place. And it reminded me of the video I ran last week of just being at the beach and just seeing that sunrise and sunset and picking up things that no one had ever seen before. By the way, I put the sea biscuits in the mail. There's one right there, which looks like a half of a golf ball. That's how my golf balls always looked to me, because they were always in a sand trap. I only played the game 8 times in my illustrious career. There's nothing about it being a career, and it wasn't illustrious. I went out just to laugh with some people, but I think it turned into some people laughing at me. Hey, welcome on the show, Chip Cash. Good to see you there, my friend. Happy birthday, Dorothy and Pat, Denise, Kim, Linda, Randall, wow, Chris Whitaker, Jennifer Yentz, Bob, all the way from Minnesota. Glad you're on this morning. Bob the Bob Painter, Bobber Painter. I have your bobbers over there, Bob. Hey, listen, I'm working on a project, and I got to show you. Look at my desk right here. I'm just going to get started right off the bat, because I'm not going to be with you the whole hour. I'm skating out of here early to go have a pastry with my wife. And but I have this book on my desk that says North Carolina Lighthouses and the Stories Behind the Beacons from Cape Fear to Currituck Beach. North Carolina has 9 or 7 or 12, or I think it's 9, and I should probably know. And so Carol bought this book for us several years ago. In fact, look, 2020, and she said, you know what we should do? We should take a trip and see all the North Carolina lighthouses. And so we did go see a couple. And in 2020, I really hadn't even thought about, I had done the Paris journal, but I'd never really thought about doing a journal, around lighthouses. And so I'm off and running. I'm going to do it. And I've been painting some samples. So I want to show you. Today it's all about small art. Taking big pieces of paper. I'm always taking this, throw this in there, Kilimanjaro. I'm always in touch with my dear friends at Cheap Joe. Went home to be with Jesus this year. And fun storyteller, good guy, just really a great artist who didn't start out to be an artist at all. He was a pharmacist, for heaven's sakes, in Boone, North Carolina, and took an art class and fell in love with the medium and just what he was doing and the storytelling of it. Fell in love with just artist and studied more art. And anyway, really started just doing journaling and small sketches. And I met him back in 2005, I believe, 2006, somewhere right in there. And anyway, Kilimanjaro is one of my favorite papers. So what I'm doing with this paper is I rip a sheet off of here. I just had a sheet in my hand. Here it is right here. Just pull a sheet off here. This is glued on 4 edges, which is really nice if you like to paint that way, but I paint quickly and then I want to remove it. And so I remove the page first most of the time. This is 140 pound. It can handle a lot of water, but here's what I'm doing. I'm just blocking it up in small pieces because, you know, I carry it in my small little Buffalo Jackson leather journal there where I have a piece and I slip it out and paint something small. So I laid some of that out this morning because I'm going to show you how small painting helps everybody, and it helps you. And you may think, gosh, I'm too old to start a new hobby. Well, happy birthday to me. If you're too old, I'm in big trouble. No, I'm just kidding. Because I'm older than most of you. And here's the thing. Do you know when Grandma Moses started painting? Somebody do some research on her this week. Wait a minute. There goes my buzzing, whatever. I brought up the bucket salt, so I'll show that to you a little later. But I want to get started on painting because I'm not going to be here with you the whole hour. But I want to show you this. Watch this. These are little paintings that I started. I always do a ton of these. Take a look. Here's a little lighthouse. This is Bass Harbor Head Lighthouse. This is in Maine. This lighthouse I've painted 3 times because one, it's in my journal. Here it is in my journal right here. Let's see, Bass Harbor. Where is Bass Harbor? It's one of the first lighthouses that I actually ever painted, which I didn't even ever think about painting a lighthouse. But I'm sitting there one day in Penobscot Bay. There it is right there. And we went over to Acadia. We went to Acadia National Park. And this one is really not in the park, but it's adjacent enough. You have to drive 20 miles. They call that adjacent. But anyway, the point is, here it is. This is the Bass Harbor. And this picture here is the same lighthouse. It's just taken from the backside, from the ocean. And so this is my quick journal paintings. And this is really all I needed to be for this journal. I love this. Some of you think, well, it's not good enough for a journal. Everything's good enough for a journal. You just put down your notes and your thoughts. And so these are quick little fountain pen, a lot of orange in the rocks there from the dirt and the iron. And there's another little lighthouse. This is Owl's Head. This is Indian Island. And this is the one that I was just going to paint for you very quickly right here. This whole page had a great story to it. And so I'm just going to start painting it, and I'll say hello to some of the rest of you. Glenda Small, thank you, Bob, Patrick, June Jones, wow, Debbie Bennett, love, thank you guys for being on. Donna Buckley, there she is, folks. Payne's great person herself. Sue Kane, all the way from the land down under. I love it that you join us all. 14th anniversary of your birthday. Yeah, no kidding, man. That's a funny thing. So Grandma Moses, anybody know how old she was? She started painting when she was 78. There's a great story about a man whose car breaks down, but you go like, that sounds like one of those old farmer jokes, right? My car breaks down, I walk to this farmhouse. But I don't know if it's just a rumor, but I do know that before she started displaying some of her work, there is a story that goes like this. She's a folk artist. She started when she was 78 years old. And her husband died many, many years before she did. She lived to be 101, didn't die until 1961, maybe something like that. I've really never been a folk art, but this is what I would consider my style of folk art. And so it's just sort of seeing and representing what you see. You don't worry about placement that much. You don't worry about perspective. You just go, hey, there's a barn, there's a house. Look, there's a croissant on top of the barn in Maine. Chip's on the show this morning. One of his favorite places. In fact, Carol and I contacted Chip and his wife before we went on this trip and said, name some places that you would eat. And they said, here, 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 here. I think they were engaged there. So I'm sitting there and I'm starting to sketch on this journal. You know, this is just one This is my Japanese journal that unfolds. And I'm sketching the boat. This was the Appledore 2 that we were going to go out on. And that's how I got this little painting out there. I'm sitting on the boat thinking, I'm going to sketch this in pencil, took a snapshot, finished it when I came back because painting on boats, unless it's the Queen Elizabeth II, is not that easy. I'm sitting there and I'm painting this boat, and this dude walks by, and he does this to me. Look, he goes, he looks down at my paper, looks back at me, looks down at my paper, looks back at me. He's holding something in his hand like this, and he's holding it this way. He's not holding it this way. He's holding it like this. And I'm thinking, man, it looks like a hot dog. Here I've been in Maine for 5 or 6 days, and I've eaten every lobster known to mankind. Carol ate, I think, 150. I think I painted that many, but she's holding the hot dog, or he's holding a hot dog like this, and I didn't realize it at first. I thought it looks like a hot dog, and then he says to me, and this is the story. He says to me, "Did you see a woman walking a dog wearing a hat?" Now, that's a lot of run-on without commas and prepositional phrases. Walking a dog wearing a hat. And I didn't even break. I just looked up and I said, yes. And he went, oh, his eyes lighting up. But I said, how did you get that dog to wear that hat? And he looked at me, realizing that I had just turned a phrase of the woman was wearing a hat walking the dog. But I just took it as the dog was wearing a hat to see how his humor was. And he goes, you can train a dog to do anything. And basically, we smiled at each other, and I said, then I'll tell you about the woman if I saw her. You tell me where you got the hot dog. And so he said, da-da-da-da-da-da, and I ran over there. Of course, they were shut down, but I said, she just went that way 12 minutes ago. And he said, how do you know it's 12 minutes ago? And I said, because I looked at my watch before I started sketching this sailboat. So there is the story. But this is a blunt stone, and I wear blunt stones, and I've worn a blunt stone since 2002, and the pair that I have on now I've worn since 2020. Every day I wear the same boot. Me and Bloodstone just had a conversation about that. So I want to paint this for you this morning, and without looking at it again, I'm going to look at it right here. You look at it, take a snapshot. I'm going to paint Indian Island for you. I could lay it here, but I see just the shadows, and we'll pretend that the light's coming in from this side. And then let's just paint it with a little shadow. And I'm going to show you how to do this very quickly because I've been painting small pieces. And in my time this morning, I want to encourage you to go back and just keep knocking it out. Grandma Moses is 78. A guy shows up at her door and comes in, and she says, can I help you, sir? And he's saying, well, my car needs some help. But he says, what are you doing? And she says, he didn't say, did you see a dog wearing a hat? He said, what are you doing? And she said, I'm painting. I used to embroidery and knit, but my fingers are not nimble, but I can paint. And he says, do you ever sell your work? And she said, heavens no. My husband said I was a housewife and I wasn't supposed to do this and this and this and this. And first of all, if it's a good, he died early, which I'm not happy about. But had I ever met him, I would have liked to kick his fanny over the fence because I don't like it when people tell other people that they shouldn't do things and it's none of their business. Oh, I think I want to be a painter. You go, oh, you don't want to be a painter. You wouldn't make a good painter. You go like, really? What's it to you if I do or don't? And so some of you don't start art because people around you think you don't have any art skills. You know, that's a misnomer. Start and do something if you love it. Maybe you write poetry. Maybe you do quilt or crochet, or maybe you weld, or, you know, I have a lot of hobbies because I think it's a creative expression of me making something. And that's what this community is about. Thank you for all the creative cards that I've gotten and just how they're painted. And I love it so much. So here's what I want to do. I want to just paint this morning. And by the way, Grandma Moses let some of her art go to this guy, and he took it and he worked with it a little bit. And guess what? Guess what happened? Yep, you guessed it. She became an artist, and some of it got in art galleries, and people started buying it. People started talking about it. And then in 1953, a piece of it winds up on Time magazine, or Life maybe magazine back then. I can't remember which. And so lo and behold, what happens is, and I'm just grabbing this paint, no wet yet, it's just dry. I'm just putting a damp brush in it. And I'm just grabbing some of the sky here, throwing some extra water on this 140-pound paper. And a piece of it wound up in the Smithsonian, a piece of it wound up in the National Gallery. In 2006, one of her paintings, just a town that she grew up in, and remembered all the little things and the children and the merry-go-rounds and the sleighs and the sawhorses and the seahorses and just all the stuff that she remembered. It sold for, I think, $2 million or something like that. And so you sort of go, okay, for a woman who didn't have much skill in painting, she suddenly whipped them all. And I think it's pretty cool that that happened. So for me, here's what I've been doing. I've been just painting a lot of small lighthouses the last few days, preparing for my trip to the North Carolina coast to create another journal. I'm just going to use a little bit of French gray on this lighthouse just to give it I put that blue sky behind it to make it a white pop, but then I'm just going to grab this. And then, why is my tone going off on my, let's see if I can stop this messages thing. Hold on a second, quit. Messages, sorry, didn't stop that on my computer this morning. And so I'm just going to put a little bit here. And I love these lighthouses that have, this one had more of a gray roof, but just for this painting today, I'm going to put a little bit of a red roof out there. I love it when there's red and white contrast of these things, just like this. I think this was a gray roof, but it doesn't matter. And for my journal, I could have let this, I would have. I'd have had more tea and time, and I would have let this putz around a little bit and not fade up into my blue as much, but it's okay. I'll just come down in here, and I might even throw some purple down in here along this. So I don't know if you're doing small paintings like this, but I recommend that you do, and here's why. Because it makes you confident in getting to grow to a larger picture later when you start to say, hey, that worked out small. How can I scale it up a little bit? And so here's a good example. Just grab a little bit of gray here and just wash, or green gray, and just wash this down. I think there's a little green in my brush, but it's okay. I'm just going to leave it. I'm not going to worry about it. I can also do that with a pen. I can just grab one of my fountain pens here and grab a little more of this ink right here. If this pen were writing, I could. Like I said, I could just grab a pen and do that. See if I grab this one and do it. No? Okay, so why are my pens broken today? Here, let's grab a stylus and do it this way. Okay, nothing's working. I bet this Uniball will write on it. Here we go, watch this. Ah, yeah, look at that. Just draw a line down through here and a line up through here like this on the side of this house. And now I'm just going to go get my brush, and I'm going to shade that in a little bit. Watch this, just like that right there. That's what I was trying to get. Here's a little shade in going so. And so I'm going to show you some of these that I've been painting and taking a little more time. But I want to show you what I'm doing to the rocks here in Maine. Now, your rocks are going to be different wherever you are. So, but just take and don't be afraid to put some color in there. Grab a little bit of browns and oranges and even some darker brown, darker gray. Even a fountain pen will work great if you get it in there so it'll write. There's one that's writing just a little bit now. It's too wet. It had some water on the end of it. And then sweep that in a little bit with some grays. I've got some, I have a palette that has some rock colors in it. And sometimes this yellow, green gold is a great color to throw in there, just on little shrubs and things like this. And so now I'm just going to put some turquoise water out here, a little bit of green, a little bit of turquoise, a little bit of blue. And I'm going to create just a little bit of ocean coming down there just like that, and same under here, just like so. This is Indian Island, all the Penobscot Bay, and I have taken some liberty with it. I painted their roof red, and I wanted to do that just for contrast on the show. I'll show you my picture again from the journal, but I'll show you what I've done. This has a little bit of black in it right here. This roof, too much black in that brush, can touch it and erase some, and then a little bit right here. And then always drop just a little bit of yellow in there because, you never know. It could be one of those every few seconds the light blinks, or every couple minutes. All right, so there's a little idea of just, that's plenty good for a journal. I want to show you what I've been working on the sound. So here's Indian Island. This is Bass Harbor. You can see those two right there. I'm going to come in just a little closer, maybe. There we go. See, don't you like that the clouds are just doing what they're doing? Don't limit yourself to thinking, I can't paint a perfect something. And why have I been working on this perspective? Because I want to paint some lighthouses. I want to put them in my journals. I'll show you what I did in an hour last night. Let's see. I think they're right here. One of the lighthouses I'm going to go see is, I don't know if we'll make it all the way out to Hatteras on this trip, but we're going to go see. And I just found a great, I just got a note from, hey, Maggie, thanks for being on the show. And Ricky Govers, Tamberly Marie, thank you for being here. Beverly Schmidt, JC just sent you something yesterday. Julie, thanks for being on the show today. Mary Kay Spencer Ritzow, thank you for being here. Cindy, I saw your picture of the barn, just absolutely over the top. Beautiful. Tissy Chambers. Love it, love it, love it. Laura Logan, thanks. Jason, glad you're on the show this morning. Good morning to you. All right, thanks for being on. A lot of lighthouses on Superior, yes. And you'd have to paint those in the 1 week that they have of summer up there. All right. A lot of people have jumped on this morning. Thank you very much. Bucket list items, sketching lighthouses of the world. I've been using a lot of this. Let me show what I've been doing with it. Here is this is Ocracoke. So these 3 paintings are a little bigger, but they're still on cut pieces of paper just off that. They're scrap pieces that I pulled in. In fact, one of them has an Eiffel Tower on the back. Look. And so I painted Currituck Beach Lighthouse. Skeeter Powell, who's on our show, his great-great-granddaddy was the light tender in this lighthouse. Is that not cool? And so he's got all these facts, and he loves the North Carolina outer coast. And this thing was built in 1875. And so it's brick. And so painting brick, I didn't have to do each little brick. I just did some lines in there. And that's the way that goes. This is Ocracoke Island. And there's a big house that sits here on the island, and I didn't need to paint that. I just wanted the lighthouse, and this is 1823. And there's just a little tinder house that sits here on the side. This is all white fence, and I just drew down the lines and then threw some gray white over it. There's a drive-in. All this is sandy gravel, and the trees coming in. So there's another little example of plenty good for my journal. I put a little shadow in here from all this purple and green. I could do a little gray on this side. And here's, this is, what is this? This is Bodie. No, that's not Bodie. What is this? It's not Hatteras. It's, maybe it is. No, it's not. Yeah, maybe it is. Is it Hatteras? And I didn't look it up well. No, Hatteras is twisted. So it may be, it's Currituck. No, it's not Currituck either. It may be they tore one down and rebuilt it. So I should pay attention to what I'm doing. Yeah, it is Bodie Island. I was right. Bodie Island, Bodie. And the reason I painted Bodie and these 2 first is because I'll probably send one of these to Skeeter Powell. His great-great-granddaddy switched between these 2 as a light keeper, and I thought that was just a great story. So if you see Skeeter on the show, he sent me a list of restaurants that we should go see there. So my point is that these small paintings, like I just knocked out, and this, different color rocks, I'll come back in and add some to this. Sit down sometimes and quit worrying about whether it's great or not, and just wet a brush and do something that expresses kind of who you are and where you're going in life with your art. If it's not lighthouses, what is it? I do the same thing with roosters. Here's 3 different styles of roosters that I did. This reminded me of my Rhode Island Reds that I grew up with. This is mostly fountain pen. This is my Lamy fountain pen, medium. Or is it fine? I don't know. I've got a pocket full of pens always. There it is right there. This is, I want to make sure this is, which one this is. This is a fine. I have a medium and I have a fine. This is the Lamy fine. And so this pen is great for just going back in and grabbing some ink. and making these little pieces like this on these tails to make this one look rough, and then come back in with a brush and just touch them up. So uh, remember, simple tools go a long way when you're doing journaling stuff. And I still think I'm going to do another workshop this later this spring on this same sort of thing. Small paper. So I just said think small today. Grandma Moses, a lot of her paintings started with little bitty pieces and flowers and bugs, and then she started growing out when she felt more confident, as the story goes. It's a very interesting story, and you either love folk art or you don't, but the point is, love your own style, find your own visual voice. I don't know what it is, and it doesn't matter what it is to me. It matters what it is to you, and you'll find a niche for it. What did I do with that little wet lighthouse? I want to keep that one off to the side. There it is. Okay. So this is the fun stuff that I'm starting with, and then I'm going to start with a clean, fresh journal. I've got one sitting right here ready to go. This is it, I think. Yep. Nothing in it right here. 12 pages, as you can see. I'm holding up over my head. It's 20-something pages. It's actually about 12 feet long. This is the Japanese art journal. A little harder to paint on this. Chris Whitaker, you'd love it. And if you've painted in moleskin, you know, but it doesn't absorb. You're going to have to just give yourself another cup of tea and let it dry pretty well, because it's a journal paper, and it's probably only 85 or 100 pounds, but it's pretty stiff. And it's made to take ink. It won't go through the back. The first one of these I ever saw, of course, was by Lian Zin, and he had painted one side. The Chinese guy that taught me, and that's him, Lian Zin, he said, I'd never been to Japan, and I took a trip to Japan to sketch and work with their ink and pens. And I thought that's ironic. And he had painted this whole thing in black and white, and he opened it up and set it on the desk. I was at Cheap Joe's in Boone, and just went absolutely bonkers over it. I went, I want to know what that is. And he says, that's a Japanese art journal. And it's called the Concertina, but it's made by Moleskine. Cheap Joe's carries them. You can order it online if you're interested. And that's what this journal is. So I get new people on every now and then, and they go, I don't know what that is. And some of you know, but it's just winds up being my entire trip. And there it is right there, all spelled out, all the places that I went and all the things that there's islands and lighthouses. And then Chip's favorite place to eat, if he's still on the show, one of his favorite places to eat is this boulangerie in Maine, this big barn. And literally the croissant was big as Carol's face. See, as big as a barn, or at least your head. And so then on the back, I always paint one large painting, and there's the lobster on the back in front of an old-timey trap. And this is where Tom really taught me how to paint lobsters. And I sat down with him for lunch, and Carolyn said, we'll buy you lunch if you'll show me what I should do. And he said, just do what you're doing and make sure you get the right number of legs. All right, so, excuse me, this small paper lends itself, there's an island, there's one of those islands up there, notice the orange rocks, and it lends itself well to lobsters and bees and the small paintings that I do. And these are the fun ones that, in the words of Grandma Moses, give your art away. And I know some of you do now, and you do a great job. Some of you take it to people who don't get out as much as you do, and you inspire them with them. And I just saw where Denise did a workshop for some folks, and a couple of you came in to help. But it's just a fantastic story of inspiring people and taking in the supplies and saying, let's just paint something simple today that you can carry home and put on your bulletin board, your refrigerator, and say, I made that. It's more powerful than you think. It's some of the best therapy I know, and I think it kept me, you guys helped keep me alive during COVID. And me painting, and so it's absolutely great. So there's my lighthouses, and I was going to paint one more little piece. I'm going to do another little bee for you this morning before I go, and I'll keep you posted. But I'm also, if I take this when we get down there, it's going to be later spring when the weather's warm enough just to pull up a little stool outside and sit there for a minute and sip my tea. And also learn the history of the lighthouse. I love it. The Portland headlight, which is in Maine, and my daughter just painted a cool painting of that. The Portland headlight, I think it's here in this book. Here it is here. I just painted this much of it sitting out here. This lighthouse was commissioned in 1790 by George Washington. And it took them 1 year to build it, and it's still lighting today. And then there's also Rams Island is off the coast, and it sits out there too. Looks like one of those old-timey salt shakers. And I love this piece painted on the rock in this park around the Portland headlight. Is this compass star here, and I just thought that was fantastic. Wow. Just some of the coolest art that I'd seen was in Maine, I got to tell you. Just loved it. Love the whole cotton picking bunch of it. All right, put that up. Put these up together. Let's see if I'll have to organize this later today now that I get into this stuff. Oh, there they are. There's the three large ones that I'm practicing for. I don't know if I'll do anything any larger than these two in my journals. So that's probably about the size of a journal. That's probably close to 5 by 5, 5 by 7 paper, but I'll probably do it like this and let this bleed off to something else. And I'll redo these again. This was just a sample last night. Like I said, I did these 3 paintings in an hour. I sat down at my dining room table and I pulled up a snapshot of each one. And so I want to take my own shot from the perspective that I want. So that's the advantage of being there. But the majority of people who took these shots were doing the same thing that I'm doing. They're going like, ooh, this is the perspective we want. Or, I may love to see a little more of this roof line. This little house, this little keeper house has been covered up by the trees. And now the trees are much larger than it is. But there's some without the trees that were taken back in the early 1900s of this brick lighthouse. I love the bracing on this one. And so there's some detail in my book, too, that Carol purchased, this book here, of just how they're built. There are 220 steps inside this lighthouse, and it's open several hours a day from March until December. You can actually go in this lighthouse. So it's a pretty cool one. Hatteras is the one that moved, and it's one of the most iconic in North Carolina. There's just some great things here. Cape Lookout is 93 feet tall. This is Old Baldy, which is not in use anymore, I don't think, but it may still, every now and then they do it. But there's a whole concept on lighthouses and the Fresnel lenses. And this lighthouse I've seen, this is Oak Island. And it was actually poured in concrete sections, and they didn't paint this lighthouse. It's 153 feet tall. They didn't paint it. They literally tinted the concrete and made it that way. And then they set the lens by 2 helicopters. The Army engineers, when they redid this one, moved it over. There's my light. I didn't see that painting. Here it is, and I wasn't even looking. It's in my book. This is my little take on Ocracoke right there. See, I just took the little building. There it is, right there. See, I just took this and did it, and that wasn't even the picture. I didn't see that boardwalk. I guess I should go back and read my book, which I just had it since 2020, but I hadn't been interested enough to do it until we said, let's go. And now I've learned how to do small journal, but I'm learning. All right. Lighthouses on the floor, bees in a stack. And I wanted to do another little bee for you just on a short piece of paper and a fishing fly this morning. And let's make it happen right here real fast. Okay. If there are any questions, I'll jump in there and go Q, Q, Q. If you could choose one place anywhere in the world, where would you like a piece of your art displayed? Wow. Wow, what a great question. First of all, I'm going to sound something that's going to sound really corny and coy, but I don't mean it. I don't mean it to sound that way. I mean it as the truth. I love it when a piece of my art is displayed in a friend's home. It would be fun to have a piece, if you were Grandma Moses, if you were something like that, and if you did something, if you look for fame and not fortune, but fame, you would say, I'd love her to be maybe in a cultural museum somewhere, or so somebody said, this guy worked hard to keep art and crafts and blacksmithing and hobbies and whittling and all the stuff that he does. I held up a little whittling knife to keep that alive for other people. That would be fun. That he challenged people that way, or that he. I have a friend who takes shots of sunsets all the time, and it's because wherever they show up, he reminds people of God's beauty in the world. That would be something. That's a good question, and I have never really thought about that because I never thought about being an artist. I just think like one. Let's see. Question from Kim Sheets says, "What number bee painting are you on?" 1485 is my bee painting I'm on. I'm on 1485. And have you ever painted the lighthouse in St. Augustine? I have sketched it. No, I started to sketch it in a journal, but I'm going to tell you there's a story about St. Augustine. In 1995, 97, 1995, 96, I don't know, somewhere in there. That wasn't matter, right? What's the story? I get a phone call from a dear friend of mine who has an art company and has a marketing company, and he'd been doing things for Breyer's Ice Cream and Biltmore and Coca-Cola, and he was living in Florida at the time, and he made a pitch just one day, walked into the tourism office and said, you guys have some advertising for tourism that's really kind of weak, and I'd like to make a pitch, and I'll come in and say, I'll do it for this, and if you like it, this is what it'll eventually cost. And they said, make us a pitch. Pitch the tourism department, and we're going to have a meeting in a month and a half. And he said, where's your meeting? And they said, in the St. Augustine Lighthouse. And in the bottom of the St. Augustine Lighthouse, the building off to the side, they have a little banquet hall, and it's small. 40 people can fit in there probably. Hardwood floors, brick room, just a tough little place. So I get a call on Monday from Keith, and he says, I've got an idea. Would you mind doing this for me? Would you consider singing a song for me that I've written about tourism in St. Augustine? And I said, sure. Sure. And he said, well, I'd like to get the song to you right away, but I'm waiting on the musical track to come in. And he said, there's a friend of mine in Nashville who's writing that track, and I'll get that track to you. And I said, okay. He said, I think I get it to you as early as tomorrow. He's going to finish it today. And I said, great. I said, when do I need to sing this song? And he said, Thursday. And so I say what I say to some of my friends when we're working on a project. What are we going to do with all this extra time? And so he said, this is great. He said, oh, you can handle it. It's just going to be 30, 40 people. They're going to be in there. I'm going to show a couple things. And this song has got some great lines in it. It's very poetic. So he sends me the words, and I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, oh, my gosh, this is crazy. And so I wound up going down, finishing. I don't get the thing until late Tuesday night. So Wednesday I work on it. Thursday morning I have to be standing there ready to go. So I took in a little speaker system and a microphone, and back then this was on a cassette tape. It wasn't even on a CD. And so Alan sends me, this guy and the musician friend of mine in Nashville sends me the track, and there were words in it like Ponce de Leon landed on the sand I play on. So it had all these historical movements and sunsets and tides. And I mean, it was just really wordy. And so I learned that thing, and I sang in the keeper house at the St. Augustine Lighthouse. Ta-da! And he got the account, by the way, not according to how do you choose what paint you when you're on a city? There's so much to pick from. Oh, how do you choose the paint you use on a city? Well, first of all, you don't have to go mixing, just take 6 colors with you. And then I think that may be what you're asking me. Are you saying, how do I choose what paint to take? Or what paint you use? And here's the other thing. It doesn't matter. But here's where oil painters and acrylic painters get so many types of paint sometimes, and they think, oh, I've got to get this paint because it's perfect here. But if you're an oil painter, you're going to go through a very intensive school in mixing colors to get everything just right. Journaling is not necessarily getting it just right. It may just be what you remember or what you see. Or is it really that orange? Or why did I put purple down in there on that lighthouse like that? Who really cares? Nobody. but me. And then I don't really care. And so the point is, and I'm looking for something here that I don't see. Here it is. When I went to Maine, I was sent this by Charvin from Paris. They sent this over. A friend had them put it, and they helped me choose, and I wound up mixing them around. All this color, and this color were all in here. I moved it around a little bit the next year, but I took one palette with me that had this in it because this is just a marvelous color of stone. For the stones in Maine, it's just really kind of a rusty green, brown, ugly, dirty color. You can't see it, can you? Here, let's see if we can see it right here. Let's just get this right here and put it right there. Look at that color. And then I saw all these rocks that were different colors of orange and hues of orange in Maine. And so I suddenly realized that, oh my gosh, I may be onto something here. And so, but I can make all those colors with all my primaries of just my 3 primaries and the other ones around. So I do have the primaries in here. I can take that blue and that green and put them together, and I get this great little mossy look, and you'll see a lot of liking in there. So I just take a snapshot, and then I study it a little bit, and I go, I'm just going to take this palette and I'll make it work. What makes these palettes work, and these are kind of expensive little boxes, but what makes them work real well is they have a ring on the bottom. See that ring? My finger slips in that ring like this. And that way I have it just on my hand when I'm out there, and my journal's sitting there, and I can move this around, and I can, and that's kind of fun. And also the ring kind of wobbles it too. And I set it down on paper or on a cloth, paper towel or a cloth. So, but I really carry even my small palette with me. And that's what I take in most places. So I don't, it's not a big deal. Yeah, all the lighthouses yesterday were done in this, my tiny palette out of that. Everything that was done here last night, all of these yesterday in my hour were done from this palette right here. And this even has a midnight blue, and I just mixed a little black with it, and I mixed it on a piece of paper. Or I mixed it right on the art. This I actually started with a light red. I just grabbed some red in there and just stroked it down with a lot of water, and then I added in a little brown, and then I just did some drops. And this one could stand a little more shadow on it, depending on where this cloud's coming right here. Once again, I'm not looking at them as award-winning pieces, but look what's happening here. Is this not cool? Okay. You can paint the lines in first, or you can paint the rocks and then paint that later if you want. So it's any way you want to do it. It just doesn't matter. You can kind of come in and do it your own way. You can paint around it and soften up the line, or you can put the lines in later and then brush back over them, and you get that little rock feel. See that? Okay. All right, let me go back to my page here. Boom. Oh, shoot, wrong page. Sorry, messed up. Okay, there it is. All right, I'm going to go for one more minute here and paint you a bee. Okay. Love painting these honeybees, and I'll probably wind up taking some painting stuff with me this morning. I'm off to have a pastry at a nice little place I've never been to before. Carol's taking me to a pastry shop. Isn't that what you should have on your birthday, a pastry? So I'm going to have a pastry. And you see how long now that I spend on these honeybees. It's just forever, like painting one. And and then here's where I use that pen. Some of you have seen me do this a million times, and I told you a million times, I never exaggerate. I'd be dangerous today if I was keeping up with all my pens. Just grab this right here and just come in with a little bit of this. And on 140 paper, the ink that goes in the Lamy pen is your friend. It is the black ink that you're going to use a lot of times. Now watch this, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Look, I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to darken this, and darken this, darken this. I'm going to just touch it right there, and then we'll go in here with a damp brush too much, and then I'm just going to lighten this up. If it's still too heavy, I'm going to grab my old paper towel and just blot it a little bit. There it is right there. Break that down. I want a little bit of blue on that, just like blue, brown, and orange. Just a little touch of the brown and orange right in there like this. Bees have a little bit of this orange. And so on my wings, I'm just going to wet them down a little bit like this, just water. Dirty water. I'm still painting with dirty water. I haven't changed my water in a while. I'm going to put a little bit of titanium, buff titanium on there. A little touch of brown just across the membrane here to show that muscle. Bee's got a stiff little muscle right there. A little more black coming in here on my brush for the legs coming down. These legs going out. The middle legs I didn't paint. I'm seeing this run into the wing right here. I kind of like it. I'm not going to change that. I'm going to grab some yellow here, gamboge, which is yellow to me. Gamboge is the color of the monk's robe. It's called gamboge. I don't know how I got that name, but probably something Joe Miller did. Okay, he called it gamboge. Maybe not. He probably just. All right, so now I'm going to go in here and just with a little touch of my pen, bring in some detail in the wing. And now you get an idea of how this works. And I'm going to come in with this pen and do a little bit of detail. The pile, which is the hair on a bee. And then I'm just going to touch that yellow and let this run down into it just like that. Same with up here. Here's where I'm using the water on the bee as part of my style and just making it rough and loose. You see how that looks sort of rough and loose? See how this is running together right here? I'm not going to change that. I'm not trying to make this too pristine. You know, bees are, by the way, that yellow jacket went somewhere. I don't know where it went, but I brought up my bug assault gun. You know what this is? You know what a bug assault gun is? This is a bug assault. See that? This is to shoot flies with. This is normal table salt. It goes in here. And then you cock it like this, and then when the fly lights, you go, bam, and it shoots out a little packet of salt, or not a packet, but a little cluster of salt. So I kill flies with that all the time. Take that to a picnic, man. You're the hit of the picnic. All right, so here we go. I want to grab a little bit of orange, and then I'm going to say goodbye to you this morning. So I want you to work on something small today. Here's your assignment if you ever wanted one from this Roodoodles Live. Get some good paper. Don't use your bad stuff. Get the best paper you have and cut it into some small pieces and create a little beach scene or a landscape or paint a tree on it. And less than you ever did. And don't try to make it look perfectly just like the tree. Just have some fun with it. And let it just start to show up a little bit and go, wow, that was fun. Do you think this is a good scene? No, I don't think it works at all. But guess what? You know exactly where it is. This is when Chip sent me his little picture a few weeks ago for being in Paris, and I said, I'm just going to paint that. And I painted a painting and wound up giving it to them to hang on their wall. And because they said, wait, we would love yours too, because we bought a small one there from this artist. And so, you know, that's a great place to hang your work. When a friend says, I'd like to have it hanging in my house. So that's a true thing for me. All right, so there's my little bee. I'm going to grab a little bit of yellow here and a pencil, if I can find one, a pencil, and then just do a little bit of splatter on here like this, and maybe a little blue sky smiling at me. And there is bee number 1486, Ruby. 4/13/24. Oh, happy day. There you are. Voila. Hey, it's always fun having you guys on. Blessings to you all. Thanks for being back with us, Susie DeLay. I'm glad you're here. And you're never too old to start painting as long as you're on this planet. Okay? And when you're blessed and highly favored, you are blessed and highly favored. And don't forget that. So are you. Thank you for your inspiration. No, thank you for being a part of this. And thank you for your note, Pat. You made me laugh today. And for all the old who sent me some greetings. And I appreciate you much. So, I'm going to keep painting my bees. I'm, 600, a little less than 600 away from my 2,000 honeybees. Paint small today. Take a sip right now. Think of somebody you need to send a text to and do that right now. Encourage them. Maybe they need encouragement in life. Maybe they need encouragement in the arts. One way or the other, put the heat on a little bit, okay? Pressure them just a bit and say, hey, what are you doing creative that makes you get outside of you? Connect with some other people. Blessings to you all. I'm out of here like a herd of turtles. Small it is, according to the assignment, joyfully, Pat Lightbody says. All right. Keep it small. Think like an artist, but think small. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Happy